Hello YouTube, this is Neon. Today I'm going to be talking about spare the rod and spoil the child, and how many of these verses in the Bible are misinterpreted. Okay. One day while I was in synagogue, my rabbi, he had mentioned honor thy mother and thy father. And then, being a Jewish person who married a Christian woman, he said, he mentioned honor thy mother and thy father. Then he started laughing and he said, I'm not saying that they can tell you who to marry, right? Because, he was a Jewish person who married a Christian, and his mother was in the audience. This was a big rabbi, by the way. His mama was big too. He was tall and he was big in both directions, and so was his mama. But a lovely person, and his mother was a lovely person as well. So, Rabbi Cohen, I had attended the synagogue for a year. He had said that the way honor thy mother and thy father was meant was honor thy mother and thy father in so much that they're honorable. So sadly, today, many people who were beaten, abused, sexually abused, verbally abused, psychologically abused, emotionally abused, people whose mothers allowed them to be sexually abused, or may have allowed them to be sexually abused for payment, or so they don't lose the income that the boyfriend or that their stepdad or perhaps even their biological father is bringing in, or so that the mother doesn't have to live lonely. These people think they still have to honor their parents. And sadly, many parents use this misinterpretation of honor thy mother and thy father in that way, which is to say, no matter what I do to you, you have to honor me, and that is not the case. Honor thy mother and thy father in so much that they are honorable. That's really how that verse was supposed to be interpreted. It's really how that verse was interpreted and understood, and probably how it should have been translated to English, so that parents don't abuse that verse. It is one of the verses in the Bible that is ridiculously misinterpreted. It was interesting because his point was not to undermine the verse, honor thy mother and thy father, so much as to say, it doesn't mean that your mother and father can tell you who to marry. That was his point. But whether we talked about this or whether he would have agreed with me, I'm not sure. I don't remember. It's been too long since I attended, and that synagogue no longer exists, by the way. But I'm sure he would have said that this verse, or the understanding of the verse, honor thy mother and thy father in so much that they are honorable, would certainly apply. That they're not honorable if they're sexually, physically, verbally, psychologically abusing you, or if they're neglecting you. You don't have to honor that kind of behavior in your biological or adoptive or otherwise parents. Now, there's a verse in the Bible that says, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't know where the verse is, I don't remember, I didn't do my homework, but it says, if you have a rebellious child who talks back, who doesn't work, who cusses their parents, and is consistently rebellious against his parents, that child is to be taken out, like to some particular part of the city, and he is to be stoned. Or perhaps she is to be stoned if it's the daughter. That was a verse that was never taken seriously, and I remember Rabbi telling me that, or perhaps he told us that it was never meant literally, and I believe he said that in not just in the Torah or the Old Testament, but that in the other religious writings, Jewish religious writings, there's never been a case where a parent took that verse seriously, where they actually said, you know, my child's a pain in the ass, let me go ahead and have him stoned. Nobody ever did that. Why? Because that verse wasn't meant seriously. It was meant in the same vein as certain mothers who I don't think they have a right to say this, a moral right to say this, but many mothers will say, well, I brought you in this world, I'll take you out. It's just to put a little bit of fear into their child so their child will behave. It doesn't mean I will kill you if you don't behave. It's not literal. And neither was that verse meant literally. Yet that verse is in the Bible. While there are parents who do kill their children, who would like to kill their children, the ones that they hate, most parents don't like all of their children equally. And some parents really can't stand some of their children. They can't use that verse and think they're going to get away with murder. Not going to happen. Not in the U.S., right? Now, spare the rod, spoil the child. This is the verse that's very often misinterpreted. Many parents basically interpret it as, I'll do whatever the hell I want with my child, and you're not going to do anything about it. And sadly, that's what they do. Even though this country ostensibly protects its children from corporal punishment, the reality is that most people who choose to perpetrate corporal punishment against their children, they do. Some do it on YouTube videos. The public is not for children's rights. They're not for protecting children. Many of the public who wouldn't dare beat their children would not want to bother to stand up to defend children who are beaten by their parents, because this verse, spare the rod, is taken literally, was never meant seriously. This, and by the way, it means rod. If you're beating your child with a rod, you're definitely, which is made out of metal, right? You're definitely breaking the law, and the law's not going to defend that. But that was meant, this verse, spare the rod, spoil the child, was meant in the same way. It was just to provoke a little bit of fear in children to obey. It wasn't meant in the sense of, if you don't obey, I'm going to beat your ass. It wasn't meant like that. It was not meant like that. But that's how many parents use that verse. Okay? Now, most of us, we do not hold our parents accountable for the mistreatment that they perpetrated on us. Parents have this attitude that they are superior to their children. That attitude, in my opinion, is best denoted by the fact that most parents will not allow their children to call them by their first names. So those two coupled together, parents aren't going to be held accountable. That power that parents hold over us tends to extend into the adult years. And so we never hold them accountable. We will say, well, you know, she was abused or he was abused, you know, they didn't know any better. They did the best they could. We'll give lip service and we'll just let it go, all of their mistreatment. The reality is that there are so many parenting magazines. You know, one cliche and platitude we use to not hold our parents accountable is, well, there's no guide on how to raise children. And it's so untrue. There's so many books out there. There's parenting magazine. There's so many good magazines on parenting. But we'll use any cliche, even factually incorrect cliches, to not hold our parents accountable. Because why? Our parents aren't going to let us hold them accountable. Our parents believe they are superior to us. They are not to be held accountable. So, I don't agree with this. And not everybody, there's a small percentage of us who do hold our parents accountable. We do believe they are to be judged by their behavior. And the fact that they had us means nothing in the sense that I didn't make them do it. I didn't ask them to do it. You know, they're to be judged by the behavior, not by their familial relation. So, those are my thoughts and musings on spare the rod and spoil the child. Never meant to be taken literally, and unfortunately too many parents use it to justify beating their children, beating their children's ass. And I don't agree with it. So, Please like, subscribe, share, comment below, recommend my videos. Do one or more of those things. Thank you and best wishes.